and welcome to Blue Garden Cottage. It's lovely to have you along with us. Today, as you can see, I'm in my kitchen and I have a recipe as promised to share with you, but it's not an edible one. First of all, welcome to a new subscriber. If this is your first time visiting the channel, I'm Cindy. This is my suburban cottage homestead. It's semi-detached, but what I do and how I live here is the dream I've always wanted of having a cottage. If I can't have one in the countryside, I'm gonna make my suburban home my cottage, and my family's, of course. Anyway, what I'm talking to you today about is the fact that I've run out of my soap nuts for making laundry, cleaning my laundry. The soap nuts I have used on and off for a couple of years, interspersed with liquid soap flakes, but it is getting more and more difficult to get the liquid soap flakes. I can still get the soap nuts, but I've spoken to you about this before when I did another video about what's in my kitchen cupboards, what's under the sink. I'll put a link to that in the corner of the video. I'll put on the cards. So I'm almost out, and I do not want to go and buy laundry liquid. There is some great environmentally friendly laundry liquids, but they're very expensive, just as much as your everyday laundry liquids. And even though I'd like to be more environmentally friendly, I also have to be frugal, and that is down to need and not anything I can help. At the minute, I have to live within a budget, and I have to live within our means. So, having said that and done that, I have found recipes on the internet, and especially watching videos on YouTube on how to make my own laundry liquid from plants, which are freely available to forage, especially here in the UK. And I've watched loads of videos. One of my favourite videos was from Homers with the Hearties. I'll put a link to in the description box, because credit is, credit where credit is due. That's one of my favourite ones that I found, and I'll just adapt things a little bit to my own liking to make it a little bit more appropriate for what I like. So let's get on with that. Right, so I've decided I'm going to use the ivy leaf recipe. I am going to experiment as well with the horse chestnut leaves and the horse chestnuts themselves later in the after I've done this one, and we'll see how they go. From what I've seen on all the videos and articles I've seen, ivy can grey whites. I don't know about the horse chestnut. I'll have to experiment with that. So I'm still going to have to buy the liquid soap flakes to wash my whites in, and use, as I said before, the aspirin tablets in the laundry to help keep the whites white. I always use soda crystals anyway, so I'll continue to use this because it helps to keep the washing machine clean, and it also helps with the laundry anyway. So I will continue to use that, and white vinegar. But for now, as far as the ivy goes in this particular recipe, which I'll alter and I'll show you how, I'm using ivy. Everybody knows what ivy looks like, well documented. Anyway, it is an evergreen, 3 segments to the leaf. Lovely bright green vein. The young ones not so dark, but still obviously ivy, and they smooth out more as they mature anyway. Not edible. It is toxic, so please don't try and eat it or drink the liquid. And I've just washed it now to get any bugs and dirt off. And I'll come back to you when that's all done. Alright. Good old soap nuts. There we go. So what I have here is the washed and patted dry ivy leaves. A pot that does not have any non-stick in it, and that will easily hold a litre of water. That's my stock pot. A litre of water and a pair of scissors, and that is your lot. That is your ingredients for your laundry soap. So what I'm going to do is chop up these ivy leaves. Seriously, you could tear them apart, but I think it's quicker and easier for me just to chop stuff up like this. I can chop it up much smaller than I can tear it. Apparently you need to be careful if you have sensitive skin to wear gloves when doing this, but then if you have sensitive skin and this will affect you, why would you use it in your laundry anyway? Although I am sure that unlike laundry chemicals you buy in the shops, this is all washed out of the fabric and textiles by the time the load is finished washing anyway. And also, apparently, I believe, as I've been told in these videos as I watch them, the more cut surfaces there are on the leaves, or torn or damaged or bruised, the more of the natural saponins in the leaves will be able to come out. So, and it's the saponins, as we know, that have the soapy effect. Now, there's a lot of plants that have saponins in them. I know that quinoa does, and that would be probably a better one to use for hand wash, but then it's a food. Why waste food to make soap when you have plants that isn't food but perfectly fine for soap? I'd rather use the food for food. Right, so quinoa. There's obviously soap water is a good one. That's why it was called soap water, because it foams up. I've never had success yet in growing it. I intend to try again to grow soap water. Also, obviously, I have now found out as well that the same applies to horse chestnuts. I have seen videos on horse chestnuts before, but I didn't know that you could also use the leaves. Ivy is fantastic because it's evergreen and you can get the leaves all year round. Conkers or horse chestnuts, they're a seasonal thing, only when they're ripe. The leaves you can use in the season when they're on the trees, but during the winter, being herbaceous, they shed their leaves. The conkers are gone, so what do? Yeah, for ivy, evergreen, all year round. Okay, fine plants do slow down over the winter. Even the evergreens slow down over the winter with their growth and don't put on new growth till the spring. But it's a year-round supply and it's free. And for this recipe, I've seen people use anything between 60 and 100, some people 80. I've got just over 100 because obviously the leaves are not uniform in size and surface, so I just got a bit more than 100 just to be on the safe side. Oh my gosh, I tell you what, it is a bit more work to make your own laundry liquid, and some people say that this amount will last them a week. Well, not in this house. We do a lot of gardening and crafty bits and worky bits, so I don't, so there's a lot of showers that go on as well, so towels are a big thing. Towels, underwear and work clothes. So I think I'll see how we go with this one and I'll let you know later. Oh gosh, I have not had much time to do a great deal at all. That's why I've been up. I've been waking up stupid o'clock in the mornings anyway. I've been awake since 4 o'clock this morning. I thought I'd better just grab a chance because this whole week I have not had much. Sorry. Definitely got to wash everything properly. This whole week I have not had much chance to do anything. It's been like it for months now, actually, to be honest. And I was just thinking, how on earth am I going to do more of this stuff that takes extra time that I just don't have? But I'll make time. So I've made time to do this. It just seems sometimes just another extra thing, but where there's a will, there's a way. And I will not spend any money. I am determined to live within my means, and I am determined to find more natural ways of doing things. And this is just one step in that direction. So anyway, carrying on now. Litre of water in the pot. Lid on and bring it to the boil. Right, so that will be simmering for 15 minutes. Then I will leave the lid on, take it off, let it cool off. I'll put it outside a bit because it's still cool in the morning. And I'll let it cool off outside. I'll pour it into another jar or a bowl, and I'll leave it for 24 hours till tomorrow. And I'll show you in the next video how we got on with that, because this video needs to be posted today. So this is a part 1 of my soap, homemade soap, and the part 2 will be another one before next week's video. Actually, I'll just show you another one in between this week and next week's video, just as a catch up on the soap thing. But other than that, yesterday I just got so fed up with the mess in this house. Life has become extremely demanding on time, as you know, I've told you. And staying on top of the housework has been a real pain. Now, if you're anything like me, where's my cloth gone? If you're anything like me, I don't do well with mess. There might be clutter around because there's a lot of stuff. But if it's untidy or disorganized, I really get very stressed. I don't cope well with clutter at all. I mean, untidy and unorganized clutter. I really don't do well with that. Because life is so chaotic that my environment needs to be opposite to the way life goes. I need to have some peace, some calm. I need to have some refuge from some of the aspects of life in general. So yesterday I took time, I made time, did not go to help anybody for a few hours. They were all right without me, they survived for a few hours, and I did take those few hours to clean the kitchen. And now you'd be surprised, this is a tiny kitchen, how long it takes to actually clean it. And I did a semi-spring clean. I moved things around, cleaned the surfaces behind things, moved them around to make more space and make things a bit more tidy. And now I feel I've got a little bit more space. It just visually, it looks like I've got a little more space and there's a little bit more light. Okay, I'll show you that. I have this little plaque on the door of the kitchen. It says, "Only dull women have immaculate houses." How I would love to be a dull woman. Seriously, I would love to have an immaculate house. I don't want a sterile house, and I don't want a house that everybody would feel uncomfortable to even set foot in, let alone sit on a chair. I want my home to feel homely and comfortable, but I want it to feel inviting and stress-free and relaxing. Now, you know, this tiny little kitchen, and I know that there are even smaller kitchens than this because I've been in one before. So I am grateful that in perspective I have a bigger kitchen than some. Smaller than most, but bigger than some. So I am still grateful that I even have a kitchen especially one indoors. And I'm really grateful that I have running water and electricity. I'm grateful that I have a cooker and I can boil a kettle. I'm grateful for many things in this tiny space. There's so much that I could be grateful for, and I am. So I have swept and washed the floor, I've cleaned the worktops, I've moved things around just to give me a feeling of more space. Now I had the dehydrator there before and it was such a big block of stuff, it just made it feel like there was that much less of the room. And so now, I mean, a fruit bowl is not an ideal place right next to a cooker. It just is not. But it's all I have. So that's where it is in the bread bin. So things look a little bit tidier now and a little bit less cluttered. And this is literally my workspace. This is the little space of worktop that I have to work on in this kitchen, really. And that is it. The microwave, the dehydrator, the toaster, the tumble dryer, and the fridge underneath, and some more little bits of equipment under there. My bag of rags, my blenders, my wheat grinder, the deep fryer, which we never really use ever. I haven't used that for years, but I'm not going to get rid of it because I do want to yet once more make some Cook Sisters as a treat for the family, a South African treat. So when I one day make them again, and I avoid making them because I can tell you what, absolutely horrendous. However, oh my gosh, such a treat. But I'll show you them one day. When I do make them, I will do a video because it'll be years in between the time I make it again. I love having my windowsill tidy. I especially love not having anything there at all except one or two little pieces, but my windowsill is an extension of storage space. So, and growing some plants and keeping herbs. There's one item there of just for the sake of it. And my food waste, which I can't even fill that in a week. So I have very little food waste at all. And it's only the cooked food waste, very little that we have. And then the garden, the kitchen waste for the compost goes in there, and that gets emptied as soon as it's got enough in. So keeping my kitchen clean, just to have a clean sink, to have a clean draining board feels so good. And I did this yesterday, and to come in today to a clean kitchen, oh my gosh, what a relief. So this is part of my homemaking. This is part of my self-reliance, that I take it on myself to make the time to do what is needed to make it a home that feels like a place I want to be, and the place I want my family to feel they want to be, and to relieve my own stress, just to make life a little bit easier and more comfortable. So there you go. While this soap is bubbling now, not yet, almost. I think I need to prod that down a little. This lovely spoon hubby made for me a couple of years ago. Okay, it's almost boiling. He made this spoon for me a few years ago, and generally all I use it for is porridge. Oops. So I am going to have to wash it very well when I'm done with this job. Okay, so we know it's ready. After 15 minutes, I'll just turn the heat off and leave it to cool down a bit more on there, and then I'll put it outside to cool off more with the lid on before I put it in another bowl to let it steep for 24 hours until tomorrow. Bubbling, bubbling, bubbling away. Took out the back boiler from the chimney, from the fireplace. This is where the pipes were from the back boiler. So we've got to fix that at some point. There's my lovely Kanban board still being used, still working and helping me to get things done. But this Artex type paint, oh my gosh, it's horrible, absolutely awful. It's such a dust trap. It's textured, but in a tiny space you do not want that kind of texture. So there's nothing I can do as well, because when they did, if you remember from, was it last year or year before, they put in the new ceiling because of the leak that happened, and when they came to fix the leak they discovered, can't touch that ceiling, it has asbestos in the plaster. And when they came to do the ceiling, replace it, they also said that the wall plaster has asbestos in as well. So we were never supposed to be drilling holes to put shelves in, but you know, we didn't know these things. I can smell those leaves. I've got to open the window. Oops. Oops, oops, oops. Oh, that's going to have to move, isn't it? I'll move you around so it's easy to get to opening the window. But yeah, oh, they stink, those leaves. Open the window when you're boiling your ivy leaves. But yeah. Now, we didn't know. So from now on, if we are drilling, we'll have to wear face masks and make sure we're very careful with what clothes we wear to wash them, and vacuum right by any holes that we're busy drilling while we're drilling, so it vacuums up. But I don't want to be drilling. I do want to be altering the kitchen, but it has to stay for now as it is. On a budget and being frugal, I will eventually one day be able to paint these cupboards and decorate them so that so it reflects more light and is more uniform and harmonious in here, which will make it look even bigger still. So eventually I'll paint the cupboards. I will find a way of painting the walls. They have to be cleaned first to make sure there's nothing on to stop the paint sticking, and then I will just have to use a similar kind, because I think this is very old paint. I think they used a kind of, was it a gloss paint? I'm not sure, but you know, I'll have to paint it. I want it white just because it will make the place look more calm, more neutral, more harmoniously balanced, same as with the cupboards. And I'll just add, as usual, my colour with my little bits and bobs. So there you go. I am going to have to love you and leave you now because the day calls. I have to get on with it. The garden is growing, but I have to go off to serve right now to help someone. So I will love you and leave you. I will get back to you before the next video on how I got on with the soap. And I will speak to you again next week. It obviously is a crafting week video. But you will have another video before that to do with the soap. It's just a little catch up, but the proper video will be a craft week next week. So I'll show you what I'm doing then. Until then, I do hope you stay safe, stay well, and be happy. Bye all.